Welcome to In Confidence, hosted by me, Rosie Dalling. In this podcast series, I speak to people who've been on surprising, often bumpy rides in their quest for personal and professional confidence, and to the experts who can help you get there. Many of us dream of writing a novel, one of the toughest careers. But how many of us would have the courage to embark on a novel writing career in our 60s? My guest today, the novelist Juli Moylan, is one of those rare and inspiring people who followed a childhood dream at a time in life when many of us have long abandoned ours. Her acclaimed novel, That Green-Eyed Girl, published by Penguin in 2022, launched a successful fiction writing career. As I was reading it, I was thinking, how has this woman not been writing all her life?
Well, I was not writing my entire life because I grew up in a very working class family on a council estate in Wales. And we had some difficult times as a family. So I didn't know anybody in the arts. I had no idea about publishing. I had no idea people actually could just turn around and say, well, I'd like to be a writer, please. I loved books when I was a kid and I loved writing and I used to write stories all the time. And then I kind of put it away because I had to leave school and get a job and all of those good things. Eventually, later on in my 20s, through a number of circumstances, I ended up going to university as a mature student. But again, it's kind of real working class ethos of kind of, well, if you do something, then you can only go into careers that people really recognize and value. So I went into teaching, which is a very well-trodden pathway. And that worked out fine. And then eventually I started my own training business because I had been doing quite a lot of company training through our further education college. And I used to go out and do customer care training and management training and all of these kinds of good things working with staff. I kind of got to the point when I think just when I turned 50, I just thought, is this it? I mean, is this, am I in the right costume here?
It's like the Peggy Lee song, isn't it? Is that all there is?
Is all that all there is? Exactly. And I was kind of, well, like most people do at some big birthday point, probably at some point in their lives. I think we often go through a period of reflection and think, well, kind of, okay, I know I can do this and I've done pretty well at this and this is okay. But what happened to that little kid that used to love books and writing, that used to go to drama group and was a really arty, creative kid? What happened to her? Because I left her back years ago. She didn't get to go on the rest of this journey with me. And I think we build this very sophisticated shell around ourselves
Yeah.
that we say, oh, well, if I live in this kind of apartment or house, or if I wear these kind of clothes, or if have these kind of partners or friends, it's like an Instagram friendly life, isn't it?
Yes.
We want.
That all of the other stuff will go away.
Yes, yes. So we can leave behind our fears and our insecurities because it looks good. It all looks great.
Yeah.
Except that inside it doesn't always feel so great. And then you have to deal with it, whatever it is, I think, at some point. And for me, I bought myself a creative writing course when I turned 50. And I thought, oh, I don't know, maybe this is ridiculous. Maybe it's all too late. Maybe. But it's my 50th birthday and it's my party and I'll decide how I want to spend it. And so I started this course and I really loved it. It did not teach me really how to write a book because that's a different skill set, I think. But it did get me writing at least and thinking about writing and back into a really great reading habit again and going, oh yeah, I remember this life that I used to kind of enjoy.
Yeah. So it sounds quite like a dawning that there's this other part of you that needs to be nourished and that this was just the right moment for you.
Yeah, I think it was a gradual realization. If I look back now, and hindsight is always such a brilliant thing, I think that there was always part of me that was kind of searching for clues, really, for this Julie that used to exist, and then you'd see a movie, or you'd read a book, or you'd go to another country and experience something. You think, oh, this little glimmer of joy here, or this
Yeah.
little glimmer of creativity, this is speaking to me in a way,
Yes.
and I don't really know what to do with it yet, but if I keep pulling on that thread, I might get to the end of that
You
pathway.
might find her again. And this really speaks to your writing as well, because your writing is so nostalgic. There's a longing in the writing, particularly among often in the female friendships there, that is
Yeah.
just it feels like it comes only with age and wisdom.
I mean, there's part of me that looks back and thinks, oh, I really wish that this had happened when I was 30 because there would be so much time.
Yeah.
But then I know authors who are 30 and who've written one book and then have never been able to do it again,
Right.
or have just walked away from it, or,
Yes.
you know, it's always difficult, I think, to make a career in publishing, no matter what age you are.
Yes.
But for me, I I look at the writing and I think I don't know that I would have had anything to say really when I was younger. I do think there's a richness that comes with experience and when you've loved people, when you've lost people, when people around you have died, that you have the full gamut of experiences by the time you get into your 60s, and a perspective that maybe I didn't have when I was
Yeah.
30. I was so in the middle of the drama. It's like being caught in the middle of a wave, I think.
Yes, and you need that space to be able to make sense of it so that you can write about it for other
Yeah.
people to make sense of it too. So you sent yourself on this writing course. Was there a moment where you thought, I'm going to do this?
The hope was there.
Yeah.
I think there was a dream that was deeply buried. I feel of like, I really would love to write a book. I'd really love to see my book in a bookshop. I think most authors have that as a dream, not kind of, oh, I want to be a bestseller, I want to be rich and famous. It's mostly like, I want to see my book in a bookshop.
Yeah.
And so that was there. And then I was just following this process, really, of the course. And when I finished the course, I had a short story published, and I suddenly thought to myself, oh my goodness, maybe I can. Maybe I'm just some undiscovered genius or something, because you do get very excited when you've had one thing published. And so I decided to sit down and have a go at a novel. And the course had given me many really wonderful things, but it hadn't really given me enough to be able to craft an entire novel because it's
Yeah.
quite a complicated thing to do. And so I wrote something, um, and I found out about the process and sending it off to literary agents and all the rest of it. And I started doing that. And then the rejections started coming. And then more rejections started
Right.
coming. And then I got really despondent and miserable and thought about quitting and carried on and kept going and kept going and kept going.
So what did you ever really seriously consider giving up?
Cool. Yeah, many, many, many times.
Okay. What were the kind of things that you told yourself in those moments when you really thought about quitting?
Well, I am quite stubborn. I,
Uh-huh.
so there was an element of stubbornness. I don't like to be beaten by something. I
Yeah.
didn't want to, fail. And then one day when I was particularly miserable and had, yet another series of rejections, uh, my husband said something really brilliant, actually. He said to me one day, when I was complaining about, my never-ending failures here in publishing, he said, "Look, Julie, we only get so many heartbeats, and none of us know how many heartbeats we have. And this is a good way to spend your heartbeats."
Wow.
And I just looked at him and thought, oh my goodness,
Yes.
you're absolutely right. And it's not about oh, will I ever get there? Will this ever see a book in a book? It's about what else are you going to do with your time?
Yeah.
What are
It's
you
about dying trying.
dying trying? Exactly. And and that changed the frame of it for me. That rather than me being this, hopeless kind of insecure author desperately trying to get somebody's attention in the publishing world,
Yes.
I think wanted some kind of validation. I
Yes.
think back then, I believe that literary agents were like marking your homework, and that, if you got past them, that was it. Literary agents can take you on, and then they get rejected by editors and publishing houses all the time, obviously,
Yeah.
because not every author that gets signed gets published, which is it's a bit like mountain climbing. You get to the top of the mountain and you think, oh, I've done really well. And then you see another higher mountain in the distance and you realize it's a long process.
It was
So,
just going to be have to be you believing in yourself,
yeah,
you believing in how much you actually love the process and how you wanted to spend your heartbeats doing this,
yes,
and then accepting that the rest of the journey is just the process and actually even success, because that's the other thing is you write a book, you've had huge success with your books, but then you have to write another one.
yes, exactly. You start over every single time.
Yeah.
So, you have your debut out there and it's fine, and people like it and they say nice things and you get invited to, important festivals and it's
Yeah.
all very lovely. And then you write another book and the people who reviewed it last time ignore it or whatever, and it goes up and down. And ultimately, you can only really have confidence in the fact that you're doing your best, you're spending your heartbeats the way
Yeah.
you spend them,
Yes.
and that you know how to do this job. You can write the book, you can get to the end of the process.
Yeah.
You don't come off a council estate and end up, you know, with a university degree, with a career in lecturing, running your own business, a published Penguin author by accident. I mean, I'm not saying people haven't helped, supported, been
Yeah.
great, but a lot of it just takes a lot of grit. You just have to, you know,
Yeah.
stand there and go, yeah, I'm not moving. Actually, I'm going to keep on
I'm
going.
still going. Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for, persistence is key, but persistence in the right way.
So what's the difference between hard work, which can
Mm.
get you nowhere, and then
Yeah.
there's the right kind of persistence?
In terms of publishing, I think persistence for me was keeping the end goal in mind, which is I really want to have a book published. I really want a career in as an author. Um, And then at the same time going, it doesn't need to be this book. It doesn't need to be this story that is getting rejected. Maybe I need to write another story that won't be rejected. And that's in fact what I did. That's how I got published. Because I think what we do is we put all our eggs in the one basket and we go,
Yes.
well, I've written this story and now I've been told to persist and I must persist because only weak people give up and only, failures give up and all of
Yeah.
this nonsense that we hear all the time. Smart persistence.
Yeah. Yes.
Don't
Yes.
persist to the
And
point of exhaustion. And, if a lot of people keep saying to you, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right, then there's no point in you saying they're all wrong and I'm just
yeah, when you're a creative, you fall in love with your work and you
Mm,
have to, in a way, because that's the creativity and it is a part of you. People
mm.
often talk about their creative work like their children.
Yeah.
So I think it's very interesting that you were also not attached to that creative work, and that's what enabled you to succeed because you were also ready to detach yourself and look at it from a view of I want myself to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, you do get attached, and I really believed in that book, and I thought there were good things in it, and then there were, there were good things in it. It'll never see the light of day now, but I have used some bits of it, or some themes of it, or general ideas that have gone into my other work. Um, And so nothing is wasted. And that's the other part of that, is that nothing is wasted. I had the experience of writing a book, and therefore I learned a lot about crafting a book and
Yeah.
putting that together. And then I took it into, I realized, I mean, you do get some feedback occasionally. Some lit agents will say, actually, you write really, really well. It's just not quite right for me.
Mhm.
Or, so mostly you will get a kind of, not for me at this time, thank you. It's, they just are so busy,
Yeah.
if you get feedback, it's really a wonderful thing, because it's a great gift that they've taken the time to say, oh, I really like this, but it doesn't quite work. Um, and so I had some signs of, hopefulness. A few people asked to read the full manuscript and then kind of rejected it, which is kind of like getting halfway up the ladder and pushed off.
Like taking your clothes, it's like going on a date and taking your clothes off and then
Yeah.
not having the second date.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there was a lot of kind of like little moments of kind of, oh,
Mm.
maybe, oh no, okay. And then in the end, I thought what I really wanted was somebody in the industry to tell me what I was doing or not doing. I needed some more craft, because
Yes.
writing a book is a craft, and you have to learn that craft.
Hmm.
And so I enrolled on a short course on Faber Academy that Jess put together. You wrote the first three chapters,
Yeah.
and then people would give you feedback on it. And I thought, that's what I need, because if there's something obvious that I'm doing wrong,
Yeah.
then probably I need to know about it.
Yes. That's the tenacity, smart tenacity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I did that. And then after the course was over, I got feedback, and my tutor was lovely and said, oh, I think, this is really good. And that's what I started writing, actually, that Green-Eyed Girl. They were the three chapters that I did. And then I carried on writing the rest of it. And my tutor had said to me, if you like, because she knew I'd been through this process
Mm.
before with all of these rejections, said, if you like, if you finish this manuscript, I'll actually read it for you and give you some feedback on it.
Wow, that's a really good sign, isn't it?
Oh, that is such a gift. It's unbelievable, because I just thought, oh, great. I don't have to go out on
Yeah.
submission to three agents blind here. Somebody will look at it. But in the end, actually, Faber put the opening chapter in, they sent out an anthology of their coursework to all the literary agents, and literary agents actually contacted me and said, do you have a full manuscript on this,
Mhm.
because we really like it. And then I got an agent, and then I got a book deal just a couple of weeks before I turned 60. And
Oh my goodness. Were you able to soak up the amazingness of that?
oh, I was absolutely giddy with joy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, why are all these agents contacting me? Oh my God. I thought it was a joke at first. I thought, like somebody's put something on,
Yes.
your Facebook page or something.
Yeah.
And then when I didn't want to let myself believe it right until I had formally been offered rep,
Right.
because I had been once invited to London to have coffee with a literary agent, and then she didn't sign me, and I came home absolutely crushed and devastated.
Yes. But probably so important to have had that experience to
Yeah,
fully appreciate this
yeah,
amazing moment where you got signed. So once you've published your book, you then have to do that thing that so many introverted authors have to do, which is go and talk about it.
yeah. I don't mind doing public events and speaking in front of, at bookshops or at festivals and things. I really enjoy those, because it is like when I was teaching or training, that's
Yeah.
great. I don't really like kind of book launch parties and things where you have to make small talk with people. Then the introverted side of me goes like, oh God, can I just go home now, please? There are some parts of the job I don't love quite so much. I don't really love having to ask people to blurb my book, or
Okay. Is there a technique that you use? that helps you just go for it?
I just try to be polite, ask nicely, and
Yeah.
give them an out.
Oh, you give people an out, do you?
I do give
Do
people,
you?
yeah, I do. If you don't give people an out, I find that, yeah, people can say yes when they mean no. I would rather not have that yes.
So it's really interesting because I always coach people not to give an out.
Mm.
So not to start an email with, I know you're really busy, but
Oh yeah,
dot, dot,
but
dot.
I don't do that. I
Yeah.
don't. I
But
will say like I would, would that any chance of you
yes.
reading my book? Blah 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 blah. This is what it's about, and da da da. And I think you might enjoy it, but of course, understand we're all
So
really busy.
exactly. And your goal, I really like this because your goal is to get an answer. And so often we're left just waiting around for something to happen. So by making it easy for them to give you an answer in one or other direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you ever really wanted to ask someone for a blurb but been too scared?
Generally, if I have some way to contact people,
Yeah.
I have, slipped into people's DMs and, messages and kind of said, hi, because if we're following each other and if we can
Yeah.
message, then I'm assuming that you're kind of interested in what I'm doing anyway. And so I ask, but I want real yeses. 10 good yeses are better than 50 fake yeses.
Yeah. So true. That's so true. So asking for blurbs is something that still gives you some angst. Is there
Yeah,
anything else?
the waiting around for stuff, I think publishing moves at a fairly glacial pace. We work a long time in advance.
Hmm.
So I'm waiting for a cover at the moment for my fourth book, which is coming out
Which is
next.
about Elizabeth and Marilyn.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that one.
So yeah, it's a reimagining of the summer of 1956. When Elizabeth and Marilyn Monroe were exactly the same age. They were both 30 years old. What might have happened that summer while Marilyn was here filming and Elizabeth was very new to the throne and having some kind of family issues there. But there's quite a lot of waiting, like you're waiting for things to gear up, you're
Yeah.
waiting for the campaign team to come back with things. So you're always kind of waiting on something, which I don't love either.
So
Yeah,
if somebody was listening to this and they had this dream that they had put aside, they're afraid of taking that first step, do you have any advice?
I think take any small step that you can take. It might be buying a book about it, it might be a course. Dip a toe in it, have a look around and go, okay, in my local area, is there anything where, I could get some more information about this or I could have a go at this? Because the other thing is that not everybody who has left some little person back in their past who was obsessed with, whatever, wants to do that as a career. It doesn't need to be a kind of, well, I'm going to upend my life and have a career writing books. A
Yeah.
lot of people write things, and for example, they put their stories on Substack, which is free. And you can get feedback and you can get friendships that way and you can indulge your creativity.
Yeah.
There's so many ways in this world, if you look around, that you can be creative and really enjoy it without having to make it a tortuous process towards some end goal.
I love that idea of dipping a toe because it's as much about exploring yourself as it is about exploring the industry, the job. It's about what do you want? And you had this very clear idea. I want to see my book in a bookshop,
Mm.
but also you wanted that life back, didn't you, of reading and writing?
I wanted to uncover that creative child that
Mm.
I spent all my days in a drama group and writing little stories and putting on plays and hanging out with the drama kids and all of this. That was a creative life for me.
Yeah.
And reading books and really loving that. And I wanted that Julie back. And whether it was going to be something that paid me money or that I could make a living at or that would be an ongoing thing, I didn't know at the time. But I did know that that was the kind of life I wanted to make, whether I was kind of designing what my living room would look like or looking at, my spring capsule wardrobe or baking cakes or whatever. I wanted a creative life, and I wanted to put more creative processing and creative thought into every area of my life because I loved it and it brought me joy. And I think if you follow the things that give you joy and make you happy, even if other people say, "Oh, what do you want to do that for?" or "Oh, you're too old for that," or "Nobody's going to be interested in what you paint or what you say," or, you know, there are so many people in this world, I think, that are so overtaken by their own fears, they don't want anybody else to try things.
Yes, and that is one of the biggest things that stops people from going after. In my coaching room, people are always talking about, the idea that they have of someone else and what they would say and think, and that can be such a barrier to you going after your dreams.
Yes, particularly if it's somebody you're related to or you live with, it can be hard. And
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate that I have a very supportive partner, but I would have done it anyway. I would have.
Yes, that tenacity.
Because ultimately, we only have ourselves and our one life, and other people can have their opinions on it, but you can't please everybody. You can only really please yourself and try and make yourself happy and not do any harm along the way, if that's possible, and I think that living a joyful, creative life is going to put a bit of more happiness into a world that very badly needs it. There are enough sad, miserable, fearful people in the world.
Yeah.
And we all have days when we are sad and miserable, obviously. It's part of the human experience. But I think if we can transform that, transmute that into some version of ourselves, I think one of my great loves and heroes is Bruce Springsteen. And he said something really brilliant once. Um, when he had struggled for a long time with his childhood, his relationship with his father, and then taken that pain into relationships himself and had a lot of therapy along the way. And he said, we keep every single part of ourselves. That little kid that felt abandoned, the bullied, insecure teenager, the young person who got rejected all the time or whatever. We
Yeah.
have all of those parts. He said, but at any given time, you want the best version of yourself to be driving the car. And that's it. That's it. Is that have the best version of yourself driving the car. All of those other people, the sad and the abandoned and the rejected and the fearful and all of those versions of ourselves are still in the car. And you have to embrace them all and go,
Take
it's
care
all
of them,
okay.
put their seatbelts on,
Put
but
your belts on.
it's the
I'm
best.
driving. I'm
Yeah.
driving. You all sit tight. I'm not chucking any of you out of the car because you're
Yeah.
all part of what made me what I am.
Yeah.
But I drive this car and I decide where this car gets to go. And I thought that was just so brilliant.
I love that.
Mm.
That feels like the perfect quote to end this conversation on. Thank you so much. What an uplifting conversation about making your dreams happen in later life with Julie Owen Moylan. So often we're unconsciously driven by doubt or fear, but by dialing up another part of ourselves, we can tap into confidence that's already there. This podcast is designed to be practical. I want to actively help you boost your confidence. For that reason, each episode is accompanied by a short Substack post with a tool or an exercise to help you apply the ideas we've explored in your own life. You can find those by subscribing to In Confidence on Substack, and these posts are free for season 1 only. If you have a question for me or a comment on one of the episodes, or you just want to say hi, you can email dearinconfidence@gmail.com, or you can WhatsApp 07377 231 025. That's all from me. See you next time.